So, guys, hello and welcome to another episode of Cyber Diaries. We are Cyber Diaries episode number 17, and we got another amazing guest. We got Amir Erez for with us. So, first of all, welcome, Amir.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, Marius.
Yeah, you're welcome. I guess first of all, so Amir, I guess co-founded a company called Twilight Cyber. So it would be good to, I guess, to explore Amir first of all. The mission and the vision behind the company. How where was the potential, the problem that you guys found, and how you guys are potentially solving that problem for cybersecurity.
Excellent. So thank you. So a bit about how the company was established. So we are two founders of the company. The CTO is Netanel Elbaz. He's the guy who's ethical hacker from the age of 12. He is a keyboard kid and spending a lot of time in the dark web and places like that. And together with me, we established 2.5 years ago Twilight Cyber. Looking forward at how the world of cybersecurity looks like today, and it's a bit changed, mainly on the COVID period and post-COVID period. The world of cybersecurity goes now more to protect identities and protect services. So it's no longer about protecting premises, servers, and physical entities because post-COVID, people are working from everywhere, anywhere, a lot of cloud services. So in average, an average employee has like 10 or 15 credentials working. And this really changed the attack vector on companies and the attack surface and the challenge of the CISOs. So this is like the background of where we stand. And as a result of that, as I said, our focus is to get a holistic approach and to reduce dramatically the chances of companies being hacked by a ransomware attack or a data breach, which is initiated by compromised credentials. So the world of compromised credentials is not a new one, but since the attack vector or the identities is the main thing, another trend came, which is info stealers. Okay, for the ones who are not familiar, info stealers is a family of malware. We are supporting over 30 flavors of this malware family, who got very, very popular as a result of what I said before in the last 2 or 3 years. Our statistics shows that over 95% of companies that we checked, and we checked, I think, many thousands of them since the establishment of the company, have at least one compromised machine which is infected by info stealers. So what does info stealer do? Hackers are spreading around this malware, and if someone is hit by this malware, all the locally saved passwords and cookies from the browser are wrapped nicely and sent to the attacker's computer. And the motivation of those hackers is just to steal money. They're the small thieves. They want to steal, to have valid credentials of bank accounts, PayPal accounts, crypto wallets, things like that. But after that, they discover they have gold in their hands. Why? Because they have valid credentials from yesterday or 2 days ago of key employees in tier one companies. And this is a very interesting information for the big thieves, which are the attack groups. And they are willing to pay nice money to get valid credentials in order to start a ransomware attack or a data breach. So this is like the background. And 85 in 2023, statistics showed that 85% of ransomware attacks and data breach worldwide started with compromised credentials. I can give a lot of examples later on, both from Israel, Europe, and other places. But this is like the main pain point of starting a ransomware attack or data breach. So I'm now ending. This is a bit long overview, but this is an overview that help explain what Twilight Cyber is doing and why this is unique. So this is a big pain. Our technology is SaaS, pure SaaS. So you don't install nothing, you don't integrate nothing. And we develop a set of of bots, which is monitoring 24/7 your assets, domains, IP addresses, mobile app, etc., and detect in a matter of hours, few hours, a leaked machine of your employee or your customer or your supply chain or whatever you wanted to monitor and notify you. So by having this layer of protection, and this is our mission really, we reduce dramatically your chances of being hacked by a ransomware attack or data breach because we reduce your detection time dramatically from weeks today to hours. Why am I saying weeks? Just last sentence about that. Weeks because the market of threat intelligence companies and attack surface management companies are scanning forums, groups, marketplaces. When it's published there, it's usually weeks, sometimes even 1 or 2 months from the click itself, from the infection itself of the employee, until it's published to everybody in Russian markets or in the field.
Yeah.
So this,
I think it's a very important point where you mentioned, because I think, there's that unwritten rule of people that normally talk in cybersecurity, normally threat actors, they don't really hack in. It's sort of everyone's works on low-hanging fruit. And as you say, they log in instead of they hack in, they find a way to either steal credentials, whether it's through phishing attacks, as you say. It seems like, the easiest way or the simplest way normally that attack starts with actually having the credentials. Why we go through all of this, building heavy exploits and spending money while you can log in. And I think sometimes as we go in, I guess, on this strand, is to paint the picture that sometimes, unless people do heavy research in hacking groups, hacking groups, they have HR, they have all sometimes normal departments, and they have to give, they normally build an ROI on the project, on the hacking, because they will not spend money and loads of money to maybe get a couple £100. They will find the easiest way to achieve their target. So they will log in normally.
absolutely right.
Yeah. So I would like to, I guess, first of all, to understand, you kind of mentioned a bit, but, talking about what's the sort of core technologies that power, the Twilight company, and how you can differentiate. Because I guess the key point in here is you guys are solving the problem where between, if you take a normal threat intelligence, as you say, company, yes, you might find out about leaked credentials, or if you go somewhere to form defend and stuff like that, all of these, yes, you find out, but you will find out probably 30 days after the event. So how we can reduce that time to get there, and what's, technologies that power and help you kind of deliver that objective.
Yeah. So 30 days is the best case, Marius, believe me. So, a lot of vendors today and a lot of companies, they are relying on leaked databases. And here I want to emphasize, we're not talking here about leaked databases like we've seen, Ticketmaster 48 hours ago, or a LinkedIn leaked database, or a Facebook or an Adobe one. So there are occasionally databases who are leaked out to the dark web. And those leaked databases are combining combo lists and stuff like that. But, they are usually outdated. I'm talking about passwords who are a few months old, in the best case, sometimes a few years old even, in leaked databases. This is not the game we are talking about. We are talking about a detection, and I will answer your question in a second. We're talking about, I want to emphasize, the detection of leaked machines that were leaked few hours ago, yesterday, 48 hours ago, okay? So I'm emphasizing machines because we are not only detecting credentials, we are also pointing you to the infected machine. So if the CISO is getting notification from us, he get a notification saying this specific machine with this specific IP address was hacked by Redline or by Stealthy or by Luma C2. It was hacked 6 hours ago, 4 hours ago. So you can go to the specific machine, you can see the malware path and the executable that hit you, and after that, getting all the leaked credentials. So it's not something we found in leaked databases. It's not something that we found published in Russian market. It's really a detection of the specific machine and all the credentials, including, by the way, session cookies. And to double click a bit about the technology and answer your questions. So first of all, what we don't do. this is not something which is active, offensive, or penetrating anywhere. So we're not hacking and penetrating to the command and control. We're not hacking to the attacker's computer. This is a totally passive solution. This is one thing to emphasize. The second thing is that when such an information goes to the attacker's computer, after that, he starts to move in, let's call it layers or small groups, and then bigger groups, and then bigger groups. So it goes through several hands in the deep web and in the dark web until it's published in Russian market or in the Telegram groups or in the forums, which we all know. We developed a set of bots which optimize both, it's smart bots, both the right data sources and the relevant data sources. And as you know, this keeps changing.
Yep.
And using machine learning models, we can bring, first of all, the specific relevant data, okay? And also using some patterns we have, we can optimize the data sources and optimize the data to bring you the most relevant information. So first of all, the process is automatic and scalable, that for sure. It also needs to be covert because those sources keeps changing. And this is not that we're using some kind of, security hole or a weakness. This is not the case. This is a maintenance of dozens of bots in the closest group to the attacker's computer who can run all the time, optimize themselves, and bring you the relevant information hours after the leakage happens. And this is how we build those services in our core technology.
Okay, brilliant. Sounds like, a unique way, and I guess a novel way to cover these solutions. I guess I wanted to unpick a bit deeper, because obviously this, even though it might be a great or relevant problem to solve, I assume there is a sort of a barrier probably to entry for smaller companies. So I guess, would be good to unpick. And I think, from obviously knowing the technology, you guys operate normally in two ways now, how you can leverage technology. So the end clients, and obviously talking about expanding it to MSPs as a service offering to their potential clients. And especially that I think can be really relevant because, SMEs type of businesses, they might find it harder to leverage or even have resources to use those type of services. So if you can just unpick a bit of that, how you guys are tackling sort of, providing that service to your clients.
Yeah, so as you suggested, we have two models or two ways we approach our customers. The first one is bringing this service directly to our customers. And actually, we have two products that we're currently offering. One is the classic one, which we offer to the CISO of the company, the internal assets. So to protect his IT. When we'll talk about the roadmap, maybe we're also expanding it to the IoT and OT, but let's put it on the side. So to protect actually leakages related to his employees and to his supply chain. This is what he's worried about. So mapping all the attack surface relevant to compromised machines, compromised credentials, notify him in a matter of hours. This is one offering. The second offering is more to protect the logins of the customers of our customer. So account takeover prevention service, meaning we take a proactive approach. We don't wait for the leakages to happen and notify the customers. Rather than we have a very thin and efficient API in which every login of the customers is checked in a secured way and compared to our always changing and updated database, making sure that all the logins, think about a large bank, for example, or a retail company, and I can give you a use case of one of our customers, every login is checked and compared to this breach database. If we find this user and password in one of the hundreds of breach databases, we stop the process, and usually our customers want just to force reset. So these are the two offerings we have. One is more for the CISO, one is more for the anti-fraud compliance department of the companies. Now, to be more specific about what you asked, yes, we can either provide it directly to the company, or we have an API in which you can connect, register your domains, And then if you are an MSSP or an MDR or just a large partner who's offering cybersecurity services, you can consume our data to all your customers, get an annual subscription for that, and offer these services to all your customers as an OEM. So these are the two offerings we have. I want to emphasize, you spoke about small companies, and maybe small company will have less leakages, but the onboarding of the service is as easy as it is to 100 people company and to a 10,000 people company. So it's really the same.
Yeah, I think it's just more, I guess as you said, onboarding, yes, it's easy. I guess the more probably emphasis or the more problematic where I see the small companies, and from experience, dealing with small companies, sometimes the problem occurs where you got an IT guy, he inherits all of the security, and he doesn't really know how to deal with security. So his normally goal is to get an experienced partner alongside someone as MSP or MSSP who can bring them up to speed on security standards, because they don't have people or expertise to deal with what the tool output gives them. And that's where I guess the synergy can, help with MSP and MSSP, where you have a strong professional partner alongside you who can actually guide you and help, and obviously sometimes even give you boots on the ground to actually solve some of these problems.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Marius. And I think you touched another important point to emphasize, because one of the challenges today of the CISOs, they are flooded with information. I'm sure you know that. I'm sure the audience know they are flooded with information. So they become, I wouldn't say blind, but sometimes even indifferent to alerts they have. And they want the tools to say, yeah, prioritize for me from all these alerts I get, all this information I get, what is really important and what is less important. What should I handle first? What should I handle second? So two things I want to mention. First of all, in our solution, I always get the question, how many false positives do you have? And I say, I think zero. Why? Because I'm not bringing you now a bulk of information from leaked databases from 2 years ago. When an event happens which is related to your domain and you are under the service, you will get the notification immediately. This machine for sure is relevant to your organization. Maybe some of the passwords that were leaked are valid, maybe some of them are not. But still, you want to know that the machine in your organization was hacked by an info stealer malware, and you want to know about it really, really fast.
Yeah.
So I think this is a very important point to emphasize as well in this context.
And I think especially what I like as well, I like the newer versions or newer types of solutions where we're not focusing only about just SaaS, but we are supplying customers with an API where you can build an automation workflows, because those organizations who, are at the end of the engineering spectrum, they can then deal and build an automations and build the API and do whatever they want with that data. Because, as you say, if the information comes with it, yes, you have a plethora of ways or plethora of tools that bring you information, but you can build your own use cases and what you want to do with that data, whether it creates a ticket for someone to look at in SOC, whether you need to someone ask to isolate the machine in the network, or whether you want to prevent machine from accessing your corporate network until it's maybe scanned with a anti-malware, maybe it needs to change the credentials, maybe it needs to be wiped. So you can probably have an exposure to do that in all of your engineering because you get the data from an API.
Absolutely. And the integration is very easy, as you mentioned. So Twilight Cyber is not going inside your IT. It will give you the tools to integrate, as you now just mentioned, to any action you want to take based on the information we give you. Force reset, freeze the machine, open the ticket, collect it in your ticket systems. So definitely you have the tools to integrate it quite easily, but we don't do the action itself. That's correct.
Yeah. And I wanted to pick up, we kept talking about credentials, but I think it's important to distinguish, and I wanted to ask as well. Credentials is one thing, as in username and password, but the way the world is turning out, we have keys, SaaS tokens, API credentials. There's a plethora of other aspects where you, especially like where you have in production workloads, does your solution help and detect potentially leaked API keys and some of the other stuff, which is sometimes even probably more dangerous than, just username and password? Because, you leak someone's API key, you probably can get all of the, PII that's potentially flowing through that endpoint and things like that.
Yes. So you're touching an important point. Some of them we can already bring today. And some of this is really how Twilight Cyber will expand in the next year, because you're absolutely right. When you talk about PII and identities, this word is getting broader and broader. And we are now, part of our roadmap is to enhance few things. First of all, look at more holistic approach and provide solutions for employees at home, employees at the office, customers, supply chain, mobile app, VIPs, I mean, C-levels protection also for the personal identities. Go to the world of IoT and OT. This is all the expansions we are talking about. But another dimension of the expansion is, like you suggested, that the user and password is not enough, and we want to look at additional identities from additional applications that we want to monitor and be able to bring you in almost real time.
I just wanted to pick on something that I think it's very important as well to distinguish is you mentioned on supply chain, and especially, I worked especially in engineering organizations or especially in OT, where you might have, say, a manufacturing plant that you have a plethora of engineers that will log in remotely, whether to service, whether to, patch specific endpoints, and their supply chain security has a profound, effect, because one of those engineers' credentials exploited, say you are, nuclear plant, or even not nuclear, but any other manufacturing plant, you can cause a grave danger. So being able, I guess, to help not only to detect your employee credentials, but cover some of the supply chain can give you a great amount of benefit.
Absolutely. The things we see along the way in POCs and working with our customers, we see some extremely sensitive services which are leaked out, secret keys on the computers, okay, FTP client credential, VPNs, ADFS, Microsoft Online. So many sensitive services, and any such service who are on the computer is leaked out as part of the InfoStealer leakage and sent out. So, and we were very surprised to see, our statistic shows that you would be surprised that IT managers, even IT managers that I think they feel more confident with themselves. We see a lot of admins, we see a lot of IT managers' computer also hacked by InfoStealers. So nobody is immune. And if we get admin computer, if we get IT managers, you see some sensitive services there. And this is one thing. Another thing is you mentioned, you suggested maybe on critical infrastructure cases. So this brings us to the world of IoT and OT. So OT network is considered a closed network, but still also credentials from computer related to the OT networks are leaked out. And we have algorithms and logics that we build now that is building you the whole chain of potential attack from the computer of the network of the IT to the OT. So in 2 hops, if a stealer steal my computer and I have their credentials of the VPN, for example, I can connect in the first hop to I don't know, to the admin or the IT manager computer or to the network in general. And then if I have the OT credentials, for the SCADA network or the PLC router or things like that, I can do some real damages. And we have seen machines that were leaked out that contain both, or a combination of 2 machines from the same organization that can bring a potential attacker to also penetrate the OT network. And this is something that we're working on and as part of our roadmap to provide also the full chain of OT leaked credential notifications, and to show you also the business impact of this penetration.
Yeah. Yeah, brilliant. I guess, just going back I guess I wanted to pick up one thing is obviously, we're talking about credentials, and I guess you probably, whenever you're showing a demo, you might have, quite often probably the question is then, what happens, I have an MFA on all of my users. Does that mean that, this service might not be useful for me because, I've got the second layer of protection around my passwords?
Yeah, so we first of all, yeah, if I have an MFA, so just a plain user password is not relevant. But you'll be surprised to see how many services still today the world does not have an MFA. This is first thing to say. Still, session cookies are also leaked out as part of InfoStealer. So InfoStealers will leak out not only the locally saved user and password, but also all the saved session cookies from your browser. And some of them are expiring quite fast in a matter of hours. Some of them expired in 30 days. So we see also in those leakages that we discover a lot of session cookies valid. And once you have a valid cookie, session cookie, that's it, you're in. You just need to plant it inside your browser and you're inside. You don't need a user and password. You don't have an MFA. This will bypass your MFA. So yes, if some of the services have an MFA, I will need a session cookie from the stealer, which we discover and we see it. But also we discover that there are still a lot of services who doesn't have an MFA enabled.
Yeah, definitely. And I wanted just to, I guess, to bring up, and I guess you guided in the right direction. I think, I always talk to people. It's an important lesson, an important, I guess, another layer. We keep talking about layers of security controls. you know, Session cookies, and it's nowadays talking about conditional access policies where you can actually fine-grained defined risk-based session cookies. Because, like, if you look at enterprise application, now there is an application, say, that can do massive bank transfers. Now, this is quite risky. So obviously, maybe you want to re-authenticate every 1 or 2 hours, and maybe you want to have a two-person control. Now, whereas the Word application, you might need to re-authenticate every week. So you can have a session token that lasts a week, whereas finance application, a session token maybe for an hour or two. Why I'm saying that is because sometimes people don't understand the implications of it. Simple thing. If you take Slack, not enterprise level, but if you just small organization, you started using Slack, the Slack token time to live is 10 years. So
Okay.
now if you get someone's Slack token, you can access their Slack for 10 years. So you imagine the implications of it, obviously maybe when organization grows, they might have an enterprise, and then obviously that you can change that then. But by default, it's 10 years old. So it can be very dangerous, and I think that's the important part to know. Now, we talked, I think, a bit about credentials. You kind of touched a bit on the roadmap, so I would like to pick up and expand. What else is on the roadmap for Twilight? Where, I guess, where have you seen another problems where that solution potentially can help your customers, and where you guys building towards in the future?
Yeah, so we touched some of the points. So our roadmap goes in three main directions. One is to expand the offerings of the same core technology, meaning I want to have all the features and all the products to cover, as I said, full protection of employee at home, employee at office, which are sometimes different, customers, supply chain and partners, mobile app. We are going to add soon a service of, we call it VIP, which is monitoring C-levels and important people in the organization, not only related to their work domain, but also looking broader and seeing leakages related to also their private emails. Because sometimes there is a password reuse, sometimes the services are going through one through another. So we're broadening this solution a bit more. This is to have a full protection on the employees. As I mentioned, another thing is to look at the customers of our customers. We see a lot of demand from compliance managers and anti-fraud and risk management to be able to control all their accounts of the customers. Sometimes they get a freemium accounts, for 1 week, 2 weeks, and then those freemium accounts are no longer active, but still hackers can, through info stealers, can get those premium accounts, which are still zombies, and penetrate and start to do some malicious things. So if I'm looking, the second perspective is looking at the customers of our customer. It can be a large bank or a retail company, or I can give you additional examples. And to have a proactive approach, not to allow a breached login penetrate those accounts. This is one area. Another thing is to add value with analytics tools. So we want what we see as trends, and this is something we already have, that by using our services, the organization actually improves as time goes by. Because not only we detect and discover the breaches, but we bring the awareness to the employees. I mean, info stealers hit you by an employee which is not careful enough, right? He's clicking the wrong link or wrong file, the wrong attachment, and we see and we measure this that customers under our service, we see a decrease in the amount of infection as time goes by using our services. So this is one analytics we have, but we want to add additional analytics. For example, each leakage that we discover, what is the business impact of it? So as I said before, the CISO is flooded with information, right? So he needs to prioritize the events. So we plan to give him more insights related to each one of the services which are leaked out. What is the business impact? Is it huge? Is it large? Is it medium? Or is it small? And we also have plans to quantify this based on past events. Okay, so not only will bring him the leaked machine and the list of credentials and cookies, but also some analytics about this leakage. What is the business impact of it? How severe it is? And what is the measures that we recommend to take based on this leakage? So this is the second aspect of what we plan to have.
I think you touched on a very important point is here, as you say, I guess CISOs and or security leaders are, they're very busy. And I think it's important point to emphasize here that obviously if you look at, credentials of a receptionist laptop and credentials of IT infrastructure admin who has admin credentials, has a very different impact on organization. And I guess, the urgency to fix either of them will be differently viewed of organization, depend on your workload that you might have. So I think it's a very important aspect, and especially if you can put a monetary value on it, that can, I guess, emphasize it and create a better narrative. Because, I think sometimes as well, security leaders, obviously, they can't do all of that work themselves. There's going to be someone, whether it's IT or someone else, who's potentially, helping in solving those problems. So creating a better narrative and getting more data to the security leader can have a more meaningful conversations across the organization. So I think that nicely segues into, and I wanted, I guess, to pick on maybe so far, you mentioned a few customers. So, the customers that you have, can you share without mentioning names, any success stories where, clients are leveraging the technology, the service, and actually getting some real tangible benefits?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's funny when I'm thinking about it, we are in the business of prevention, right? So sometimes we don't even know how many potential ransomware attacks we avoided. But I can, I think, share maybe two stories related to that. One is more a business story, and one is more, let's say, forensics and investigation story. So we had a case of a potential customer. He still was not a customer by then in France, which we showed him a report from the last 6 months or 7 months. I don't remember. And he wanted to see his leakages. He was suffering from an attack a few months before.
Mm-hmm.
And we looked at the report, and then we saw his eyes open, and he said, wait a minute. So what happened is that we showed him a breached machine from, I think it was 6 months before we showed him, that after looking at him, at this machine and analyzing it together, we discovered that this was the machine that through this machine, the breach happened.
Okay.
So he was not under the service at that point. Now he's under the service, But this is like an investigation done for a few months old breach that he showed. He was looking at patient zero,
Yeah.
and he was looking at the root cause for the attack. So this was really a good thing to validate and to see, and gave him some explanations. Another customer we have, and this is really looking at a different value, is the ROI of our solution. So this is a company who is providing gift cards to the customer. So they have tens of thousands of customers with gift card, loaded gift card. So the impact of stealing or taking over an account of this company is, if I have the login of one of the customers, I can just log in and consume this gift card. It can be loaded with 50 euros or 100 euros or 200 euros. Okay, but this is the case. So this customer is under the service, and really we get a breach of a customer, maybe not every day, but every 48 hours for sure. This is really amazing. And this customer is saying, you're saving me 50, 60, 70K euro per year. I'm saving with your service because I'm discovering this breach as it happens. I can notify the customer and can change the password immediately. And I'm just saving money, you know. Your service is saving me money by preventing those accounts to be taken over by hackers. So this is leaked out, but they're immediately changing the password, and this is done. Another nice anecdote to tell is that, you know, we see some amazing stuff of how companies or how employees are infected by info stealers. So one of the things we've seen is a large bank in which we analyzed together with the bank the findings of the stealers, and we discovered that one of the VPs of the bank, the computer was at home, and one of her kids, this was a lady, one of her kids was downloading cheats to games from her computer. And this is the way that her computer, it's a VP, it's a C-level in a bank, this is the way her computer was infected by info stealers, and sensitive information or sensitive services of the bank were leaked out through this usage of her son in the machine. So what I'm saying is that, and I said it in the beginning, so sensitive information is on the computer. It can be from work, it can be from home, it can be someone else using. But this sums up at the end of the day by human errors and by awareness. So most of the infection that happens caused by human errors, unawareness, and just mistakes that can leak out very sensitive information. And our solution, not only, you know, by having the detection and preventing the service, but I think it really improves the awareness of the employees, improve the awareness of the whole organization, and actually making the organization a better organization in terms of cyber awareness education and day-to-day work, and being cautious by those human errors.
Yeah, I think, as you say, it's very important. I guess it depends what culture you build your own organization, but obviously it's between, you know, as we call it, carrot and a stick. And if you,
Yeah.
you know, instead of beating people who make a mistake, so if you can create a learning material or support sort of awareness how this can affect, you know, and what cause it has, you know, these info stealers, then obviously it can be very important. I just wanted to mention what you said, you know, from previous lives. It's very important lesson, I think, from especially for security leaders, maybe during COVID, especially, which I discovered. So obviously, I know, you know, COVID and things like that. People were stuck at home. So obviously, people who work at home, they obviously have a laptop. They work from home, and obviously, from time to time, they will be on lunch and they will allow their kids to play games, as you just said. Now,
Exactly.
lots of people don't know, but there's a platform that loads of kids use called Roblox. Now, Roblox is littered with malware.
Wow.
And I worked in organizations where we proactively blocked installation of Roblox across company estate, because the amount of malware is in Roblox, it's crazy. And people, you know, who used to let their kids play with it, they obviously download malware, and it's, you know, it's very dangerous. So It's a top tip, make sure block Roblox across your organization if you don't want any, problems.
You
But
are so right, Marius. We've seen Roblox so many times, so many times. I forgot to mention it maybe, but we've seen it so many times. You're absolutely right.
yeah, Roblox is, it's very dangerous. I guess, to kind of, we covered, the story, what you guys doing. So I guess, to round it off, this great conversation, I just wanted to see, how, if people, whether it's MSPs, whether it's clients, and I think the important aspect to call out here as well, I think which you mentioned, and it's very important, how the services can be done is there are organizations who, not only you have your own staff who has credentials, but if you're providing a services to a wider organization, whether you're a retail chain, as you say, a bank, who has a lot of customers, now I don't know how other people think, but I think you have a duty of care to protect your customers as well and prevent their, breaches. So this potential service can help and save even your business, but as well as your clients, headaches and protect their customers. So people who would like to engage or see more, how the platform works, how they can find out more about the business, how can they engage and get more potentially, demos.
Yes, so I didn't mention it, but it's so easy for us. I always say that we do a POC on the first date. So on the first date, after I explain to customers about that, they can go to our website, first of all, see all the materials, register there, and just we can put their domains and give them a pro bono first report on their organizations. So they will be aware, first of all, of what we can bring to them, but also real information about their real domain. So the best way is to approach either me directly, but they can go to our website. We are building now a more user-friendly way to register and to put your domain and to get a report. But at the minimum, they can put their information. Immediately, someone will come to them, and we can bring them the initial report based on their domain to see how it looks like. And this is really on a click of a button. I mean, it does not require nothing, no integration, no installation, nothing to prepare. We don't go to the IT. We just need your main domain to start with, and they can see immediately the value, what we can bring, and the situation in their organization.
Okay, brilliant. Well, that's a wrap, I guess. First of all, thank you very much for coming along, Amir. It's always, it's always fascinating. I kind of, worked and had so many wonderful conversations about, founders who create some, edge technology businesses who are solving real world problems. So, another great business, Twilight. So, thank you for coming along.
Thank you very much, Marius, for hosting me. I really appreciate this platform and having me here. So really, thank you.